The study of human responses to trauma has been intimately associated with the history of wars in the 20th century. On 1866, the New York Times reports a new disorder called railway spine. A passenger named Charles Dickens was involved in a rail accident and wrote about symptoms of sleeplessness and anxiety as a result of the trauma. Israel has become, since its establishment in 1948, a live laboratory for the research of trauma and PTSD. This article reviews the key findings from studies done in Israel on trauma during the last 2 decades and highlights their contribution to the existing body of knowledge in the field of psychotrauma. In 1952, gross stress reaction is included in the first edition of the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual of Mental Disorders, or the DSM-1. Gross stress reaction is within the transient situational personality disorders and describes a PTSD-like reservable reaction that occurs in someone with no existing personality disorder. Causes can be either severe physical demands or extreme emotional stress resulting from either combat or civilian catastrophe. During the 1980s, the DSM-3 psychiatric manual published including post-traumatic stress disorder as a separate diagnosis for the very first time. PTSD is in the anxiety disorders section. The traumatic event that caused PTSD is expected to be outside the range of usual human experience. PTSD is described as more likely to be severe and last longer if the trauma is of human design rather than an accident. In 1994, the DSM-4 psychiatric manual published adding acute stress disorder, a post-traumatic disorder that is similar to PTSD but begins very soon after trauma and is often short-term. Complex PTSD is left out, but its symptoms are briefly mentioned in a description of PTSD. In 2013, the DSM-5 was published. Changes include moving post-traumatic stress disorder and acute stress disorder from the anxiety disorders section to a newly created trauma and stress-related disorders section. A dissociative subtype of PTSD is also introduced. In addition, here are other historical names for post-traumatic stress disorder: soldier's heart, the Costas syndrome, psychic trauma, and the nervous traumatic. Under the trauma and stress-related disorders are the 5 types: acute stress disorder, adjustment, post-traumatic stress disorder, disinhibited social engagement disorder, and reactive attachment disorder. Thank you for watching.